Student pilot certificate, medical, FAA written test. Okay, so awesome. Got that. And then third class medical. How old are you?
52.
So how long is this good for?
Third class med is good for 3 years.
Okay. What if you were 39?
It would be good for 5 years.
Awesome.
2 years, 24 cal. It's actually not 2 years, it's 24 calendar months.
That's good you caught that.
And also, just so you know, I mean, the DPE will call you out if you say 2 years. You want to say 24
months.
calendar months.
Okay, so good. And now you've learned that, and you'll never, ever forget that.
No, I got it.
Once you, so this is.
I always think third class 3 years.
I do the same thing,
Yeah.
and that's the way it used to be, like 20 years ago. So total time we have.
We continue to fly after we did the totals, so you're going to see.
You have plenty of it though. Total time's 96.9.
Yeah.
Plus you haven't totaled them up yet, so
Nope.
you want to do that beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the fact that we've covered your logbook, gone through the whole checklist, that you meet all the required requirements for the private pilot Checkride, and we've checked your student pilot certificate, your medical, and your endorsements throughout all of your logbook. Everything looks great, and there's going to be 3 basic outcomes from this. You're either going to pass, you're going to fail, or there's going to be a discontinuance, whether it be for weather or you're tired or something comes up. So with that being said, we have a cross-country plan from here to Tallahassee, and that's where we're going to start.
Sure.
So I'm going to look at your sectional.
And then it continues up there.
Okay. Awesome. So Sanford to your first checkpoint is going to be
Top of climb.
and then top of climb. And let's see, radial, top of climb, 282. So, let's see, you got the 282 with the wind correction angle of 3, giving you a 285 heading with the variation plus 6. 291 plus 4 gives you a compass heading, 295. Leg is 3 miles with 182, 2 minutes. Ground speed 60, I get it. And estimated fuel consumption is 1. That looks awesome. What is this basic condition? This must be a bag.
Yeah, what we said was that in the passenger compartment we'll have 10 pounds of bags and stuff. Yeah, okay. And then in the baggage area we have 10 pounds of the tow bar, whatever else. So we wanted to make sure we accounted for that.
Well, I just finished a trip when I'm doing your check ride, and when I showed up, I'm bringing my crew bag plus my bag, so it's gonna, I'm gonna have to. Sure. It's gonna be 50 pounds. So I'm gonna let you redo this whole thing.
Okay.
And then show me that we're legal.
Sure.
And then when I come back in, I'm gonna take a break, so let you work on it. Okay. 10, 15 minutes.
How heavy is your bag?
It'll be a total of 50 pounds. Departure airport ground rule, 835. Where'd you get that?
So it's on the form we use a short field takeoff. So I go to the POH, I look up what the
You can show me?
Oh, sure.
I'm just gonna be a dummy.
Yeah. I pull this up and I go to the performance data section, which I believe is section 5. That's landing distance short field, and then prior to this will be takeoff distance short field, and I'll use that. And I believe we used. So we're in Florida, so I used 20.
You can do it sideways.
So I used 2,400 as my weight. I used the 20 degrees Celsius as my temperature. And the POH says that's what my ground roll is, and then the ground roll to clear 50 foot obstacle.
Come closer.
Yeah, go ahead. You can drive. I don't mind.
Okay. So show me just the landing. Now that you did that, we'll cut it down.
Yeah.
You got a 530 landing with over a 50 foot obstacle, 1265.
Yeah. So 530 ground roll, 1265. That's where I got that.
Perfect.
And actually, yep.
Okay. Perfect. I'm gonna get right into some airspace. If I go back and forth, we're gonna stay on the cross country flight. Planning portion for just a minute. So let me get a quick look at your nav log. Your true airspeed of 108 knots.
Yep.
What is true airspeed?
So true airspeed is out of the POH, and it says at this power setting, this is the airspeed you're going to get.
Okay. So is there a definition of that?
So yeah, true airspeed is the speed through the air that you're traveling. It's not ground speed. It's the air for the speed that you're traveling and through that body of air.
Okay, good. I like the word body of air, and you can get too much into it, but yeah,
Okay.
through the body of air. Does it have anything to do with corrected for non-standard temperature and pressure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's been corrected for non-standard temperature and pressure.
Okay.
It says mathematically, you can increase your indicated airspeed by 2% per thousands of feet of altitude to get your airspeed.
Your E6B also can figure that out for
Or
you.
A6B, yeah.
How much fuel are you burning here?
So the total fuel burned is 27 gallons, and I took that from taking all the fuel here. The subtotal from here from this page is 11.2. We add in from this sheet over here, plus the reserve and plus the alternate. So when it says total fuel used, it's total fuel that we've allotted for this trip, and including an alternate, including reserve. So
Okay.
27.
So what are you basing it off of? Like per hour? What are you burning per hour?
So the gallons per hour.
7.3. There it is. Good.
Yeah.
So how did you get that number?
Directly out of the POH, right next to the other thing, 7.3.
Right, show me real quick.
Yep. So 7.3 gallons per hour is right here.
Oh, there it is. Okay, very good. Done with that. All right. So we're going to take off out of Sanford.
Yep.
And in today's scenario, what kind of airspace is this that we're leaving out of?
Class Charlie.
Okay. With that being said, we leave Class Charlie.
Yep.
And you usually get the climb maintain 1,500, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah. You talk to approach. We're at 2,500 passing
Yep.
right through there.
Yep.
Okay. And they tell you, 53588, climb maintain 3,500, right there, right before your first checkpoint.
Yep.
For traffic.
Yep.
And what do you do?
Climb and maintain 3,500.
Do you have to do anything,
I'd probably have to note it on the flight log here that I started my second climb sooner than I anticipated,
Okay.
because I anticipated staying at the 2,500, and we noted here on our thing, by Lake Yale, we go to our second top of climb to get up to 4,500 feet, so that as we pass over all this airspace, we're out of all those towers and
Okay.
controlled stuff.
You see that little thing right there, though? What kind of airspace are we in? Right where that 25 is.
Well, we're below the Bravo.
Okay.
And so,
But here he tells you at that purple line, he's like, climb maintain 3,500.
at this purple line?
Yeah. He's got traffic. He's got an Allegiant Airbus coming in or something. So
Yeah.
he needs to climb you up to 3,500 right here.
Sure.
You see anything interesting about that?
Well, it's right in between the 4,000 shelf and the 3,000 shelf
Of what kind of airspace?
of Bravo airspace.
Okay.
Sure.
So do you have to do anything? Do you have to ask him anything?
If ATC tells me to go up to a higher altitude, I follow ATC's instructions.
You have to say, I need class.
Am I cleared to enter the Bravo?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I need class Bravo clearance. A lot of the time where they're going to set it up and catch you is maintain VFR
Yeah. At or below.
at or below.
3,500.
Yeah,
And then
that's
you're like,
up to
you think
you.
Right.
Yeah, that's what the landmine I was trying to lead you into.
Got it.
What kind of cloud clearance criteria right here as you're dodging clouds? Because this is one of your standard afternoon. You're in the Bravo at 3,500. They gave you Class B clearance, and right there you need to.
Yeah, 3 miles clear of clouds.
Oh, good for you. Okay. What about you're at 3,500 and you're below the Class Bravo here, and you need some cloud. You see some clouds. You're cloud dodging right here. 3,500. You're out of the Bravo.
Yeah.
So.
That's 3 miles, 152, 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, 2,000 feet to the south.
Oh, he's moving right along. Good. You get to your second checkpoint.
Yeah, and the idea here is to see the Leesburg Airport, but stay out of it, and then make my course and be at my 4,500 feet.
So what if we're at, say, 3,500,
Yep.
and we end up just using the Leesburg Airport?
Sure.
Are we in their airspace?
Once we get right here on the blue dash line, then we're in his airspace.
At 3,500 feet?
Oh, no, not at 3,500 feet, but
Okay.
the idea is that once, I would say in the plane, I'm calling him right in this area and establishing two-way communications.
Do you have to?
I don't have to, but to me it would be the right thing to do.
So where's his airspace right here?
2,500 feet. No, 1,600 feet.
Is it 1,600? What's that?
1,599.
You see that little dash?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
up-
good, you get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're heading up on course, and we're at 3,500 feet right here over Lake Weir. What airspace are we in?
Class E.
E, okay. Do we need to talk to anybody there?
In this area, typically you're going to be talking either to Jacksonville
Okay.
at this airspace, but the technical answer, you don't need to be talking to
Good.
anybody.
Is that controlled or uncontrolled airspace?
Uncontrolled.
Class E?
Yeah.
Sure about that?
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll review that. Class
Sure.
E is controlled airspace. But you're not talking to anybody, right?
No.
So, with that being said, I want you to point on here
Yep.
where Class G airspace is. Just point to it anywhere.
So Class G airspace is going to be anywhere in here where we're down under 1,200 feet.
Okay.
And then over here where we're under 700 feet because those are the transition areas.
Okay, so what airspace is above the 1,200 or the 700?
E.
Okay, so E, we've determined is controlled airspace. But we're not talking to anybody. Who cares?
Interesting.
Yeah. The only uncontrolled airspace is G. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
And it's the reason I say that is because we're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
You don't really have it as much as the way you'd see it out west in Wyoming, where there's just hundreds of miles of
Nothing.
nothing. So Class G airspace could go from 0 up to what?
Oh, it goes up to 0 up to 17,999.
Maybe.
Maybe. I want to say 10,000.
The Class G airspace within the United States extends up to 14,500 MSL. Everything above 14,500 is Class E, excluding everything above
Yeah.
17,999.
So here's Montana mountains.
Right.
There's nothing going up, so they could care less.
Right.
So it goes up to 14.5. Then Class E is that little area up to 18, which is Class A.
Yeah.
East Coast, West Coast, all the stuff on the where it's really super busy.
Yeah.
It's just going to be 700 or 1,200.
Right.
And you can tell by the vignette
Yeah, the magenta.
if
Yeah,
whether
whatever.
it's solid or if it's faded. That's how you can tell where the Class E starts.
So I'm going to give you a scenario like I was going through the cloud clearance criteria, and say you're here, okay?
Woods and lakes.
Woods and lakes, and I need you to move an airplane, and I tell you, hey man, I know it's frickin' 1,500 overcast and light rain, but can you do this VFR? I need you to move the plane from here to here at 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah. No, we're not doing that.
Right.
Because at Class G and other space, it's 3 miles visibility at night.
Okay, good. That's what,
And 152, 1,000
Right.
above, 500 feet below.
so, and I was gonna give you this, if you have it. You got it exactly right. So,
Yeah.
you knew exactly where I was going, below 1,200 feet.
Yep.
G, night 3, 152.
Yep.
If I said if it was the day,
Yeah.
I was gonna give you the scenario. Would you do the day?
Um,
What if you knew the route at the back of your hand?
yeah. So one of the things is that I don't take unnecessary
Good.
risks with anything because we're flying a plane. It can
Okay.
wait. It can
Okay.
wait until the weather's better.
What if you're in a helicopter? So what kind of daytime cloud clearance do you need to move that helicopter?
So I don't know the specific answer for a helicopter, but I would imagine it's the same as that. But
During the day. So day is a little different than night. Remember this.
Yeah.
G.
So in G airspace
During the day.
during the day should be 3 miles and 152.
That's night.
That's not 1 mile and 152.
1 mile clear clouds.
1 mile clear clouds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
Why a helicopter? Why you throw a helicopter in there?
I know. But this is the hardest one right here.
Yeah.
The others, you really wail on them, you get it, but you got to put yourself in that scenario right there where,
Yeah.
when would I ever do that?
Yeah.
Well, my mechanic's here, and blah, blah, blah. I'm moving from
Yeah.
maybe flying Baron to here, and it's 1,500 over. I'll just take it up to 1,000 feet, and as long as I have 1 mile clear clouds, if it's daytime, boom. If it's nighttime, 3 152s.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like what you said. You're going to move that. Do you have any checklists? You know, I'm going to stay with this. It's daytime now, and I
Okay.
asked you to move that airplane from here to here,
Okay.
and you're like, and you know, I'm saying you could do it, man. Just go to 1,000. You know, what kind of things are you going to go through your head when you're trying to make that decision?
Yeah, so one of the things under the IMSAFE checklist is
there you
external
go.
pressure, and I'm not the guy that responds to external pressure.
Okay.
I'll tell you to pound sand.
Yeah. Okay. What is the IMSAFE checklist?
So it's a checklist of factors that you should go through before a flight to make sure that you're prepared and you're ready to go, and you as a pilot should be flying that day.
Okay.
So making sure you're not taking any medications,
Okay.
making sure you're not affected by stress, making sure that the external environment out there is good, the weather and that sort of thing. So,
Excuse me.
Okay.
What are the other letters?
Yeah.
What's the I in I'm safe?
oh, I'm safe.
Can you write it out?
Well, I'm thinking about I'm safe, and I'm like, all right. So external, medical, stress. I'm blanking on the other two.
Illness,
Yeah, illness. Duh.
and then alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol. Yeah. External
Do we say F?
Fatigue.
fatigue. Yep.
And actually, the E in I'm safe checklist is eating
Yeah.
and emotion. It's not actually external pressures.
Eating and emotion. Yeah.
So if you want to use external pressures as part of your check ride, use the PAVE checklist. It's easier.
Yeah.
P the pilot, A for the aircraft, V for the environment, E for external pressures. It's an easier checklist.
And that's where I was going next. She knew I was going to go right for the PAVE checklist, but what I'm saying is, if you can't remember, just say, hang on, let me write this down, which I would do before my
Yeah.
flight anyway. Because I would write it down and put, I'm safe, and then check
That's right.
it off.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And then PAVE, and then check it off.
Yeah.
So it gets up, it's a beautiful day, and you go out there, and I'm like, can you bring that plane to me today? And you're like, sweet, yeah, no problem. And you're doing the pre-flight, and the taxi light's out. Can we go?
So the short answer is yes, but we got to make sure we check on whether or not we can replace it if we have a spare or whatever like that, because we should have a
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah,
It's-
yeah. So we can go, but we should try and replace it and fix it.
Okay, so you're doing the pre-flight, and let's see, you realize that your fuel gauges are in op.
Yeah.
Can we go?
Yeah.
Why?
Because fuel gauge is one of the required instruments under tomato flames. You
Oh,
got-
okay, tomato flames. What is that?
That's the whole list of required instruments that you
Can
got
you
to
tell me
have
what
for
they are?
baby.
Now listen, that's actually not required for a private pilot. You don't have to memorize that, but if you can tell your DPE where to find it, and I'll tell you,
What's not required?
it's not required to have to memorize A tomato flames for private pilots.
Exactly, but
Tell them where you can where to find it. As long as you know where to look for it in the far aim,
Yeah,
you'll be good with that.
yeah.
that's good. Good point.
But if you could spit it off of the ship,
Exactly,
that
that's
would
what
be
I was
impressive.
saying. If you can. Now, commercial, you're going to need to spit it off.
Okay.
But you're not getting a commercial, so.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting a commercial.
So,
yeah.
91-205 is A tomato flames. If you could say, I'm just, don't have to overwhelm yourself today.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole list by heart, but I know if I look at 91-205 in the far aim, I'll double
And he's going
check.
to be boom, done.
He'll be like, okay, good. He's supposed to
Okay.
make sure you're safe.
Because
Yeah.
you know you're a private pilot, and they know that you're not trying to be a NASA
Right.
space shuttle commander. So you're like, damn man, fuel gauges are not working. I'm not sure if that's required or not. As long as you pull out your far aim, which is on your tablet, and then tell them, sell it to them.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when you go through tomato flames, at least in my experience, I'll get like 9 or 10.
Sure, yeah.
And I'll I like being able to say I can look at 91-205 and double check there. So.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, that's good. We covered class pretty much A. When are you going to fly an A?
I'll fly an A when I have a plane that's capable of doing it, when I have to fly an instrument flight plan.
Okay.
And yeah, and
That's
I'm
it.
going to fly over 18,000
Sure,
feet with
yeah,
oxygen.
Yeah. Well, you brought up oxygen. Since you did that, you're trying to get above some weather here. on your cross country.
Sure.
And
In the Senza?
yeah,
I'm
in
gonna
the
go up.
Senza.
Go ahead.
You're going up. I've had it up to, I think,
I
11,000.
think we've had it till, yeah.
Can you tell me, like, okay, there's weather at 10,000 feet,
Yeah.
and it's a big, it's a cell, and
Yeah.
it's a long, but you can get above it.
Sure.
So, how high can you go without oxygen?
Without oxygen, 14,500.
Okay, and then exactly, you can. He's right.
Yeah, you can. After that, you have to make it available, and if if you're going to do more than 30 minutes, you have to have it for the passengers and the crew. And there's some variation there, and I would look it up.
It's a little more intense than that. You can go above
12,500.
For how long?
30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Okay.
And then
So-
you have to have oxygen available.
And-
You have to use supplemental oxygen if you fly more than 30 minutes at altitudes of 12,500 feet or higher.
Yep.
And that above 15,000 feet, each occupant of the aircraft must be provided supplemental oxygen. Between 14,000 feet and 15,000 feet, crew members must be using oxygen
Crew members
at
like
all
the pilot.
times. And then must be provided to the passengers
After,
if they need it.
okay.
So really 12,500 feet, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And anything above 14,000, I would make sure it was on the aircraft at all times.
Yeah.
91,211 is where it is.
Yeah,
If you want to say.
91,211 is what came up as well.
So we've got that covered. So, okay, you're at 13,000 feet.
Anybody says no on 72?
Yes, and you're about to come down, and your passenger, your wife, are you married?
Yeah.
Okay, she's like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
So very first thing is I'm gonna say, well, I don't have any oxygen meters or anything on the plane. So
Right.
I'm gonna get down to a
Good.
lower altitude where we'll reevaluate and see if she's still feeling bad. After we get, down below 9,000 feet or so, then we'll get to the nearest airport.
Okay, and what else can you do? So what I'm getting at is, he's determining whether he wants to see you as a pilot in command.
Sure.
You will know the right answers, but you have to say, first of all, you were thinking above 13,000 feet, I'm thinking what, hypoxia?
Yeah.
So what are the signs of hypoxia?
I'm not going to get these right. Shortness of breath, and then there's like a bluish color in the cheeks and stuff like that.
You got any input, Bevan?
Drunk, slurring words.
Drunk, slurring words. Is that the one where they get emotional?
Heightened sense of awareness.
Yes, and the reason I'm saying this is,
Euphoric would be a good word.
because what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at her and go, oh my God, I can tell because you're euphoric, a sense of everything's great, you're getting hypoxic.
So I see that you're not feeling well, and you're obviously not talking right, and you're slurring your speech, and you're acting drunk and everything. Let's get you down to a lower altitude where we can get more oxygen in you.
Yeah. So we've got the part. Now I'm gonna
Hide what?
the hypoxia though.
Okay.
We went up to altitude, came
Yeah.
down. I'm gonna scratch that. That never happened. You're tooting along now,
Yeah.
6,500 feet, and she tells you, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah.
So she says, I've got a pounding headache. I'm a little nauseous. What do you think is happening?
And we don't like air sickness?
You can say she's feeling airsick, but what you're going to have to explain is the difference between carbon monoxide.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Okay?
It's headache, dizziness, blurred vision, drowsiness, or muscle weakness. Those are all signs of carbon monoxide
Yeah, the
poisoning.
blurred vision one and muscle weakness is the difference there.
So really know that.
Okay.
You got to explain it because he's good. The way they're doing it, they consider it instead of PTS, ACS. They're giving you a real world scenario.
yeah.
So you're having a hard time trying to figure it. You're like, just what question do you want me to answer? But they want you to be in charge of your airplane and go, example,
Yeah.
if Bevan's like, I'm not feeling well at 6,500 feet, I'm like, what do you mean? What are your symptoms? Let me look at your fingers.
Yeah.
If they're blue,
That's hypoxia.
Right. So,
Hypoxia,
yeah,
blue,
exactly.
blue fingertips.
Yeah, yeah.
hypoxia.
so they want you to be able to determine the difference. So you got to know what the differences are and then put it into the real world. Like, what's wrong, Bevan? She's like, I got a really bad headache and I'm nauseous. And right off the bat, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to open the vents, get some air going. We're going to get this plane on the ground. There might be a chance of some carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah,
right?
so what do you do to correct for carbon monoxide poisoning in the plane?
Outside air, turn the cabin heat off if you have cabin heat on, because that's where it would come
right.
from.
Very good.
Yeah, open the windows, which is outside air. So the hypoxia is
Yeah,
a condition that occurs when someone's brain is deprived of oxygen. So that's why you're going to see the blue fingertips and stuff,
Okay.
right? Because that's what happens when you start losing oxygen.
Yep. So we're tooling along here, and we're going to Tallahassee, and there's some thoughts that maybe Tallahassee weather is turning into crap. Maybe the afternoon thunderstorms are moving in, right?
Yep.
So we're in a basic airplane, and I don't know what's in 53588 lately. It used to be one of the most basic. It might be updated now, but how can I get a weather update in flight?
So a weather update in flight is I would tune into the ATIS for Ocala. I know what's going on in Ocala, and I believe I can radio flight service,
Right, yeah.
and talk to them and say, hey, I need to know what's going on KTLH.
So who are you going to call?
122.2 out of Gainesville.
Good. Or, see this?
Yeah.
So what's that?
The Gainesville Vortex.
Yeah, exactly. And the frequency is 113.7. Any other information on there since we're right here by the Gainesville Vortex that'll tell you anything?
Well, it says, that's the receiving on the 122.1.
What does that mean?
When you're sending and receiving the vortex signal, you got to call them and say, hey, I'm sending on 122.1, or excuse me, receiving on 122.1, sending on 132.7. I might have said that
Backwards.
Yeah.
So you would call Gainesville Radio
Yep.
on 122.1. They're receiving, and then you're listening.
On 113.7.
Right. So you would say, Gainesville Radio 53588 transmitting 122.1, receiving 113.7. With the nav speaker on. He's going to call you back.
Okay.
Go ahead. We are 10 miles southeast of Ocala, VFR to Tallahassee. ETA, how many miles do we have left? Divide it by 2.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
You got to split. Yeah, exactly. So 45 minutes from now,
Yep.
we'll be arriving Tallahassee. Can you give me a whatever you want, weather update? And guess what? Now we're here, and we're concerned about the weather. Has it moved through, whatever. So who are we going to call?
We're going to call Gainesville again on 112.0, and when there's only one number listing, we're both sending and receiving on 112.0.
You mean that?
Oh, 122.5.
Yes. Okay. So you would say Gainesville Radio 53588, 10 miles southeast of White Farms, transmitting and receiving 122.5.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. What's this martini shaker?
That's a military operation area.
Is it?
Wait, this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. 2910.
R2910.
Yep.
So then, is that the same thing as the Palatka MOA?
Well, that's R2910A and R2910B.
Right. What does
So
the R
it's
stand for?
restricted.
Right. So is an MOA restricted?
It is. So you typically would call the controlling agency and say, hey, is the restricted area hot or cold, to see if everything good. You can fly in there, you'd have to use caution.
The blue, right,
Yeah.
is restricted. It's only restricted when it's active. So
Restricted when active.
So you can fly in there if it's not hot or cold. I mean, if it's not hot. Now, an MOA is, look at the color difference.
Red.
Right. So you can fly in an MOA. You just have to be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
Palatka 2 MOA excludes the airspace within R2906 and 7. So remember, restricted is different, and you have to really pay attention to this.
Yeah.
What do we say the minute we take off and talk to approach when they get rid of us? If we're going up here anywhere?
2910, hot or cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it's restricted, you can't go in if it's hot. But if it's military, you can go in, but you
Yeah.
should use extreme caution.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you the questions. Are you allowed to fly into a restricted area?
You are allowed to fly in a restricted area. You're not allowed to fly in a restricted area when active.
Okay. So how do you find out if it's not active or not?
You talk to ATC and you ask him, is that area active or not?
Is there any other way you can find out
Yeah.
without
You
talking
said
to
it earlier.
You could call flight service,
Call the controlling agency.
controlling
The
agency.
controlling agency is Jacksonville for that.
Yeah.
But guess what? Approach knows. What is this? This airspace, Daytona Beach. What kind of airspace is that?
Class Charlie.
Okay. What do you need to enter that?
So in terms of equipment, you need a transponder with altitude reporting capabilities, and you have to talk to your ATC, and they have to say their tail number when you're talking.
Okay. What do you need to do the same thing going into Bravo?
You have to have the altitude encoding transponder. You have to be talking to ATC. They have to give you clearance to enter the Bravo. Trying to think what else. I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going at with this is I'm going to take you all the way up. Say you're going with us to an Atlanta Braves game. What is this? We're going up here. This is Macon right here.
Okay.
It's a really interesting airspace.
Yeah, TRSA.
Yes. What is that?
Terminal restricted, something like that.
Terminal radar?
Terminal radar service area.
Yeah.
TRSA. I haven't seen one of these in a while.
Because the Class C 30 years ago used to be called an ARSA.
Oh, got it.
But anyway, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This never got changed. This was a TRSA. Now, this has all the exact same rules, TRSA, as Class C airspace,
Okay.
except for it's courtesy. Okay, so let me come back down here. What is this dash line right there? You see the magenta line?
Yeah. So that's the continuation of airspace for Leesburg.
Why? Why would they have that?
Because there's an water landing area right
Okay.
here.
Okay, excellent. And that gives them radar control all the way to the ground.
Gotta have
That
control
way-
to the ground.
Okay, so let's talk about some stuff that would have come up in no specific order.
Okay.
Just straightforward questions. What's the difference between a high-performance airplane and a complex airplane?
High performance airplane is an airplane with more than 200 horsepower.
Right.
Complex airplane is one with retractable landing gear,
And?
200 horsepower. What was it? Oh, adjustable prop.
Okay, so is Charles Airplane, you know anything about it? It's 180 horsepower, controllable prop, and retractable landing gear. Is that a complex airplane?
Yes.
Is it a high-performance airplane?
No.
Okay. Is the 182 in the club at 200 horsepower a high-performance airplane?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's
Is there-
not a complex.
Can
Well,
you-
yes, it is because it has the prop's adjustable.
It has to have both though, gear
Oh.
and props, so
So
just
then
high
no.
performance, okay. What's the difference between category and class?
Oh, let's see here, going all the way back to category and class. So category and class, there's categories of aircraft, and then there's class of aircraft. And category denotes, I'll probably get this wrong, normal, utility. I remember my thing on it was like one trap or something like that. So without looking that up, I'm not going to get that.
So
one, 'cause I
category
totally
is
looked
more like airplane,
airplane,
helicopter,
rotorcraft,
blimp.
blimp, and glider.
Yes, that's correct. And then class would be
Bless you.
what?
Class would then be single engine, land and sea, multi-engine,
Good.
land and sea.
Okay, what's the difference between part 91 and 61 in your FAR?
Part 61 tells you how you can become a pilot, what you need to be a pilot and stay a pilot, and Part 91 tells you how they're going to take it away from you.
Okay, what part of the FAR AIM would you find Tomato of Flames or that list?
61. No, 43. 91.
It's got to be one of them. What?
You need a
I'd go back into your notes, turn back to page
91.
a little bit.
I want to say 91,205.
Yep, that's it.
91,205.
The scenario is you went on New Year's Eve and you went to Tampa and you visited your buddy and you guys had a great time.
Okay.
Next day is New Year's Day. You're coming out of there and your altimeter is not working. What are you going to do? How are you going to can you just say screw it and go back to Sanford?
No, you need your altimeter to fly.
Okay.
And unless you're going to ask the FAA for a special ferry permit or whatever to get it
Okay,
fixed,
good.
then you can't fly.
How are we going to do that?
You got to contact the local office and say, hey, November 538, I got a flight over to my mechanic. Just for this one flight, I need a ferry permit.
All right, let's talk about NOTAMs.
Nope.
What are NOTAMs?
Notice to airmen. They're about conditions or changing in the area that they're issued for. They're to alert you to something that's going on. They usually have a start date and an end date to them, so you know that they're good for a certain time.
What types of NOTAMs are there? That's what the DP is going to want to know.
Yeah.
Know that you know.
Let's see. I don't remember. Right.
There's D NOTAMs and there's FDC NOTAMs.
Mm-hmm.
D NOTAMs?
Yes.
And FTC, and that's coming up here later.
Yeah.
Go ahead and explain to it if you want.
Well, I was just gonna say, when you're checking the NOTAMs at an airport, what type of NOTAMs are those that you're checking?
FTC NOTAMs.
Those are your D NOTAMs.
Darn it!
You had a 50-50 chance and you screwed it up.
At the airport.
And then what kind of information are included in
D NOTAMs? D NOTAMs would tell you something about the equipment that's not right or is out of service or something like that.
Taxiway closures.
Yeah, taxiway closures. Something you need to know for that airport specifically. Might be obstacles, around the airport, like the crane distance out here. Where am I? It's over there. There's a crane that's a couple hundred feet off the end of the one runway. So.
And then FDC NOTAMs, do you know what those are?
No.
So those are NOTAMs that you're going to get from ATC, like traffic control, en route NOTAMs. You can look them up on weatherbrief.gov. You can look up the FDC NOTAMs for any NOTAMs along your route. What's a TFR?
TFR is a terminal flight restriction.
Not terminal.
Temporary flight restriction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when there's a launch going off or something like that. They'll restrict the airspace. When the president comes to town, we're all screwed up.
Very good.
Okay.
So remember, D is distant.
Yep.
FDC is regulatory in nature and it's going to be your controller en route. Hey, runway 5 just closed, disabled airplane on the runway, something like that. Okay.
Temporary flight restriction.
The ceiling is the first overcast or broken layer of clouds. The lowest.
Okay.
So you
First
might have
overcast.
few at 300,
Yeah.
scattered at 2,000, broken at 4,000, overcast at 6,000. Which one's the ceiling?
I think it's the last one.
Nope.
It's the first one, the few?
Nope.
Oh.
Few and scattered are not a ceiling.
So it's the broken layer.
It's the broken layer because that's the first solid layer of clouds.
Okay.
Closest to the ground, right?
Yep.
So it's
Few and scattered don't matter, broken matters.
broken and overcast. Those are both ceilings, but the lowest one is your
Got it.
ceiling. Special VFR. What is special VFR?
Special VFR is when there's weather and stuff and you want to fly, but you need to get clearance from ATC to fly in special VFR, and you have to have 1 mile distance of visibility and clear of clouds during that 1 mile, because the airport that you're going to might not have that and everything. So you ask for a special VFR so that you can continue with your flight.
Okay, and when would you personally request a special VFR?
When would I? Well, if I'm trying to land or if I'm trying to take off and the rest of the flight is going to be okay, but just in that area for that situation, I need clearance to get out.
Sure. A good example of needing a special VFR. Say it's your airport that you're used to flying into all the time,
Right.
but there's smoke or something.
Right.
But you know your way around this airport,
Sure.
like by the back of your hand. So
Yeah.
can ATC give you special VFR without you asking for it?
I don't know if they can or not, but I typically would ask for it. So.
Yeah, they cannot assign you special VFR. They can't even hint around about
Has
it.
to
You
be
have
you.
to be
You
the
have to
one that
request it.
requests it.
Good enough.
That's all I get.
And I was just, do you know what an isogonic line is? On your sectional when you were planning your cross country.
Yeah, the isogonic line is where the magnetic variation comes through.
So do you know what it is? Plus, least is east, west is best. Have you heard of that?
Correct. And on a flight planning that we did, we were right by the 6, so we were adding 6, and then as we went further west, we went to 5.
So why is that there?
Because the sectional is laying a bunch of straight lines over a round thing, and magnetic north and the geometric north or geographic north are 2 different places.
Okay.
So you got to account for the distance.
So we were talking about true airspeed on the cross country portion. As you climb, what's going to happen to your true airspeed? Is it going to go up or down?
The true airspeed, let me make sure I say this right. So the indicator airspeed is going to read higher, the true airspeed is going to be lower because there's less molecules coming in. So it might indicate 120, you're actually doing 115.
But I mean, your true airspeed, not your indicator airspeed. Your true airspeed. As you climb, is your true airspeed going to go up or down?
It's going to go down. It's going to go up. Yeah.
You climb, it goes up. You descend, it goes down.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a really tough question. This is one of my students that is just a prodigy. And the check airman, he's always, don't get defeated. He's always going to know more than you. Let him know more than you. Don't bullshit him. If you don't know, you don't.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing good and he asks you something where you're like, I have no clue. That's because you're doing sometimes pretty well.
Yeah.
So this is one of them that was asked. What happens to true airspeed in ground effect as you're landing?
What happens to true airspeed when you're landing? It probably goes up for a little bit, I'm guessing.
That is correct.
It goes up for a little bit because you're getting extra air going into the thing, into the pitot tube, but I'm guessing at that point.
It's actually where the airplane loses all drag and ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So with no drag, you go faster.
Yeah.
That's a great point. That's where she amazes me sometimes. But it says induced drag is being reduced is why your true airspeed is increasing.
Yeah. So, drag, do you know what induced drag is?
I'll remember it as I fumble around with it. Induced drag is the drag around the airplane as it flies.
It's just a product of lift.
Product of lift.
Anytime you're in the air, you're going to have some form of drag.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, if I had a piece of paper flying through the air, it's got its own drag, you know? So when you're in ground effect, that drag goes away.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it feels like you're floating. It's not a pocket of air under the airplane or anything like that. It's the drag has pretty much diminished.
Yeah.
So
And you got to wait for it to reduce. And your true airspeed is increasing because of that happening. That's why you're floating.
Yeah, that's why it gives you the floating sensation. So a lot of people, mistake ground effect as a floating interference with the pavement and the airplane and anything like that. It's not what it is. It's just
that's just what it feels.
That's what it feels like, exactly.
Compass deviation card. You use that.
Oh, compass deviation card?
Yeah, you use that when you did your cross-country flight planning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, can we jump in the plane, and if it's gone, can we split? Go without?
The compass deviation card?
Yeah.
I would say you can because you have other sources to get your
It's a hard no.
Hard no.
Yeah.
Hold on. Compass deviation card. I haven't heard that one.
Do you know what the compass deviation card is?
Yeah.
In the airplane, like we have in the Archer, I don't know if it's all airplanes, they have ours taped right below the magnetic compass.
Yeah, they're all there.
It gives the variation.
Yeah, it's
of
the variation
compass.
from the thing because of mechanical errors and
Yes.
stuff inside
Yeah.
the metals inside the thing.
Exactly.
Alrighty.
Hard no.
Okay, so now let's get into some currency requirements. I'm going to give you a scenario. First, I'm going to ask you the dry answer. What is it current? You're a private pilot for you to be able to fly in the daytime. What kind of currency do you need?
3 landings within 90 days.
Okay. 3 takeoffs and landings.
3 takeoffs landings 90 days. Yeah.
Now, what about night? What if, because that's where you go non-current. You'll go 6 months to a year with that.
Yeah.
So what do you got to do to get current?
3 landings, but they got to be a full stop.
Okay, so if
Hold on, time out.
yeah.
I had a guy tell me that can be on the runway, full stop.
Yeah,
on the
yeah, you
runway,
can.
Which I was blown away. I'm like, really? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just request a stop and go. Or if they clear you for the option, that's whatever you want. Stop and go, touch and go.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
You can't do touch and goes at night and qualified for night.
Right,
You have to
right.
be to a full
But-
stop.
Yeah, well, I
That's
would
my
think a
next
full
question.
stop is taxi back. Is
Well,
get off
that's
the
what
runway.
I would think too, so I'm not even sure.
No,
if
it's
that's
you can
true.
stop as long as you come to a full stop on the runway.
That's like the cop pulling you over for running the stop
Yeah,
sign.
it doesn't
No.
say. It doesn't say full stop, taxi back.
Yeah.
It says
Full stop.
That's it.
Anyways, go ahead.
So you go out, you get day current, you knock out 3 takeoffs and
Yeah.
landings in the daytime. Will that cover your night currency?
No.
Okay. So what about if you go do 3 night currency to a full stop? Will that cover day?
It will. You're
Okay,
good.
good. Can you tell me what you know about a spin?
First off, we don't want to be in a spin. That's bad. Unless we're training for spins, and the aircraft is approved to be spinnable.
Right.
You have to be in a stall to be in a spin.
Okay, very good.
And you should try and recover to get out of this spin.
Yeah. So do you know what do you think the recovery would be? Back it up first with the spin. It just means one wing stalls before the other.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I want to clarify this. In a spin, both wings are stalled. It's
Right.
just one is stalled more than the
Yeah.
other.
Okay.
So how do you get out of that?
So power to idle. Use the pair checklist.
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
Power to idle. Ailerons level. Rudder opposite the spin. And then push forward for airspeed. I might have had that last
Yeah,
one.
That works. But listen, if you ever get yourself in a spin, which
Yeah.
you should, if you're at altitude, don't panic. Do
Yep.
not give up.
Yeah.
Just let go.
Yeah, the aircraft will recover.
And it will.
You need to do the opposite rudder
Yeah.
now.
Here's what happened. Here's how you do it. It'll be doing this, and you'll be like, "Oh my God!" But if you just take a deep breath and take your foot, and when I say don't just press it, you're gonna go stomp it.
Yeah.
It'll slap it out.
Really?
Yeah. With that being said, and we were talking about one wing. Well, one wing does stall for the other, but in the spin, they're both stalled.
Yeah.
What is a stall? What causes a stall? A normal stall.
A stall is caused by the airflow over the top of the wing and the airflow over the bottom of the wing are no longer producing lift. So the differential there no longer works because you don't have enough air over there to generate lift.
When do you get into a stall?
Yeah.
A little more specific.
Yeah.
When your airspeed's below the stall speed of the airplane,
And you exceed the.
critical angle of attack.
Very good. That's it. What is VA?
Uh,
The maneuvering speed.
oh, maneuvering speed. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the best speed for maneuvering the airplane.
Okay. Does it increase or decrease with weight?
It's going to increase with weight because
Okay.
you have more stuff to move around.
Great. What is pressure altitude?
Pressure altitude is altitude corrected for the standard datum of the regular thing. Coldman window, turn it to 2992.
That's how you configure it. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Corrected for the standard pressure and sea level.
standard?
Yeah.
He was right when the pressure altitude is the height above the standard datum plane.
Yes.
Height.
But
I didn't say height above the standard datum plane.
but it's corrected for what?
Altitude and temperature.
Non-standard temperature.
Non-standard. Because what is
Yeah.
standard?
15 degrees Celsius, 29.9.
Okay, so how often do we see that here?
Never.
So the plane is going to react differently. Right?
Yeah.
It's only going to react perfectly on a standard day. So the fact that when you're doing your cross-country flight planning, the plane's going to perform
Differently.
differently. It's your altitude based on non-standard temperature and pressure.
Right.
Okay. Basically, the same thing with density altitude. One is actually pressure altitude is non-standard pressure, and then density altitude is non-standard temperature.
I was going to say pressure altitude is the indicated altitude when the altimeter is set to 2992.
That's how you get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is standard.
Right.
But when you're doing it cross country, how often is it standard?
Right. Never. Okay.
So the plane will perform based on non-standard.
So I was wrong about the density altitude is pressure altitude corrected for non-standard
Temperature. Yeah.
Right.
Because the next question is, you're sitting in the airplane. How can you figure out what your pressure altitude is?
Turn the Goldman
Exactly.
2992.
Yes. So with him doing that, I'm going to go through some basic mechanics. What kind of engine do you have?
Horizontally posed air-cooled
What does that mean?
four-cylinder means the cylinders go like this.
Why?
Why do they go like that? Because that's the design of the plane for compact packaging and for allowing maximum air cooling.
I like that. And the fact that it's easier to work on. You know, they're going to get to the, you just go from the side to get to your
I would tell you it could have been outside of the fact they figured out, hey, VWs do this, and this is the easiest,
Yeah,
cheapest
exactly.
way. Might as well make it a horizontally opposed air-cooled
Oh.
four-cylinder.
Okay, perfect. 4 cylinders. So how many spark plugs?
There's 2 spark plugs per cylinder. There's 8.
8? Okay, good. Okay, so you're in flight, and how's your battery getting charged?
From the alternator.
Yeah, what kind of battery, what size is your battery?
I believe it's 12 volt.
Right,
Yeah.
what size is your alternator?
I don't know the answer to that without looking it up. Size of the alternator?
Well, I mean, like ampage.
Probably 120. I'm guessing.
24?
60 amp?
Oh,
60, yeah.
60 amp alternator?
Yeah.
24 volt or 12 volt? It's
Okay.
24 volt.
24 volt battery, 60 amp alternator.
So, okay, we're tooling along in the Cessna, and if we lose our alternator, are we declaring an emergency? Are we screwed?
No, we're not
Okay.
declaring an emergency.
Okay.
Because the engine continues to run without the
Oh,
alternator.
okay. So if I reach over and I'm joking with you, and I just throw the battery, the alternator off, what happens?
Nothing. The engine continues to run.
Right. Okay. So what is a magneto?
Magneto is a device that produces the spark,
Okay.
the current. It's in the back of the engine. There's 2 of them.
Okay.
Why are there 2 of them?
Redundancy.
Good.
You want to make sure that if you lose one, you still got another one. And I just learned the other day, if one gets built up with carbon, you go full throttle, lean it out till it starts to buck,
Yeah.
and then you do that, and you hold it for a little while until when you do your magneto check, it does clean.
True.
Who taught me that? I wonder.
You should see it inside, because when you do that, you're heating those spark plugs and they're glowing, and it's
Yeah.
getting rid of that
Yeah.
soot and build
Yeah.
up. And
Wow,
you
what can we do
listen.
about that? Oh, we can be fuel injected, or
Yeah.
oh, we can.
Right.
We can go to.
Is your airplane fuel injected?
No.
Okay.
It's got a carburetor.
Right, carburetors. So you're tooling along, nighttime,
Yeah.
and it's VFR,
Yeah.
but there's 9,000 foot broken. It's about 30 degrees outside. You got a little light mist, and you're coming into Sanford. You're about 40 miles out. You're starting to lose power.
Yeah. So you want to check for carburetor icing.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to introduce carb heat.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know specifically outside of introduce carb heat. I don't know what throttle setting you go to, but introduce carb heat, then turn it off, see if that goes away after a while. But there might be a step in there that I'm missing.
Right, and I carry this. It's in your AO or POH, but on the back of this is ICING. Pitot heat on, carb heat on, cabin heat and defrost
To the
maximum,
maximum.
because that'll get rid of the ice on your window.
Got it.
Because you don't want to be, I've
Yeah.
done it before, and I had to land a Seminole looking outside because it was just ice on the window. Yeah, strongly consider 180-degree turn, higher altitude, lower altitude, increase engine speed, flaps not recommended for landing because you're going to get flat, you're going to get ice on those flaps, and it's going to screw up your stall speed and everything. So just do a flapless land faster than needed.
Okay.
What happened? Are we screwed if I reach over and I'm screwing with you and I turn the mags off?
If you turn the mags off, the engine stops.
Yep, you're dead.
Okay.
I mean, not dead. You can get it back started. But.
Oh, no. We can get down. We're coming down.
What are your personal minimums? You finished, so we're about to be done with this.
Yeah.
Okay. The weather's really shit. Not really, but for you it's shitty. But what if it's 3,000 foot overcast and 5 miles visibility? Do you want to do your private check ride?
No.
Okay.
So, personal minimums, I don't know that I've set them outside of the fact I don't like heavy winds
Right.
because of crosswinds.
Right.
So the plane can handle 15 knots, and I would tell you I don't like more than 10.
Good one.
That's that right there, because everything gets screwed up,
Good.
you know. And I would tell you that I got to have at least 3 miles, and I want the overcast layer to be not messing with me and staying as high as possible for the Bravo.
Okay.
Because we're always dealing with the Bravo here. So if the overcast layer is 5,000, I'm not too worried about it. If it's down around 3,000 though, that's pretty close to where I'm at with
Right.
2,500, which is
Right.
the typical outflight.
That doesn't leave any room for. So here's my thing. All private pilots, I tell them, until after your instrument rating,
Yeah.
take it now, never change from it. 5,005.
5 miles visibility,
Yes,
5,000.
because even 5 miles visibility is not a lot.
Yeah.
So 5,005, you get your license, and if it's less than that, you say I'm not going,
Yeah.
because it will turn south quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Say you're on your cross country, you're going somewhere, and you get lost. How can you get unlost?
So if you make a standard rate turn to the left or the right and you do it for 30 seconds, you should be on a 180 back the way you came.
Okay,
So-
so that's a good one. But have you ever heard of the 5 C's?
Oh, the 5 C's of, let's see, one of them is remain calm.
Yeah.
One of them is communicate. You can call somebody and say, hey, I don't know where I'm at,
Got it.
right? Calm, communicate. Hold on a second. Let me think about this. I'm lost.
When can you
Circle.
see better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You circle and get up high.
Yeah.
Climb.
Climb. Circle and climb. That's like 4 C's.
Yeah. It is. Climb, circle, confess, communicate,
Confess. We didn't get confess.
comply. And I'm gonna airdrop this to you
Okay.
anyway. What when you add the heat into the carburetor? What are you adding heat to?
You're adding heat into the fuel air mixture.
Very good. Okay, so what powers each instrument? I'm gonna tell you right now. Airspeed indicator,
PO2.
attitude indicator. What powers that?
Attitude indicator is electrical. PO2. Oh, the vacuum system.
Yes, very good.
Vacuum system. I'm like, wait a second.
Altimeter.
The PO2 the static port.
Very good. Okay. Turn coordinator.
Electrical system.
Okay, very good. Heading indicator.
Heading indicator is vacuum system.
Okay, and vertical speed indicator.
The static system.
Very good.
Yeah.
Scuba diving. There's some restrictions on that before we fly. Do you have any?
Oh, yeah, I haven't looked at it in a while, but the scuba diving limitation is if you've gone scuba diving, you gotta wait, I think it's 24 hours before you go up in the airplane because the altitude differential and nitrogen in the blood won't like that.
What does it do to your body if you don't?
The worst case scenario that I can think of is you get the bends,
Oh.
which is nitrogen trapped in the blood,
Okay.
and that expands and comes out, and you got to go into an iron lung. I think the nearest one's in Miami.
Yeah, that is true. What can you tell me about have you heard of a SIGMET?
Significant meteorological event?
You know what it is?
Yeah, it's a weather report that everybody's got to look at to make sure that they're not going to fly into very bad weather.
What is that? What does it contain information usually about?
It contains information for all pilots. It's going to contain information about the SIGMET is the one with thunderstorms. I'm probably going to get this wrong.
That's a
high winds.
convective SIGMET.
That's convective SIGMET.
Yeah. Sigmas are non-convective.
SIGMETs are non-convective, and
How long are they valid for?
12 or 24 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours.
Convective, that's convective, right?
Segments are unscheduled forecasts that are valid for 4 hours,
What about convective SIGMETs? That should be different.
unless it relates to a hurricane, in which it's valid for 6 hours.
There you go.
6 hours.
But that has nothing to do with convective segments. Convective segments are issued hourly for thunderstorms.
Okay.
So segment's going to be stuff like a sandstorm,
Right.
dust.
Yeah, I remember the dust storm one. 'Cause I'm like,
winds greater than so many knots. So a segment will report severe icing, severe or extreme turbulence, dust storms, sandstorms, like I said, or volcanic ash. So it's just turbulence, icing, dust storms, sandstorms, and then anything greater than that will be a convective segment if it has convection in it, right? Lightning. What's
That's-
an AIRMET?
Yeah.
an AIRMET is notice to airmen about a meteorological event. And I'm going to blank after that.
That actually is right, but there's 3 types.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to get them.
3 types of AIRMETs. Sierra, Tango, right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember the last.
Zulu?
Zulu. They're kind of easy to remember. Sierra, like the Sierra Mountains, so it's an AIRMET reporting obstructions.
mountains.
Like the mountains.
Okay.
Tango for turbulence, so TT, turbulence. And then the Zulu for icing.
Freezing. That's
Freezing.
zzz.
Yeah, this is freezing. Ooh.
Hold on one second. Freezing.
Or icing.
Yeah, icing. It
Draw a
is
little
icing,
picture of
but-
Devin going zzz.
But it's in here also.
Mountains, turbulence, icing.
Down AIRMET Sierra, mountain obstruction and or ceilings are less than 1,000 feet and or 3 miles over a wide area. AIRMET Tango, but if you just said AIRMET Sierra, like the Sierra Mountains, right?
Sierra like mountains. Tango
AIRMET
like
Tango,
turbulence.
moderate turbulence or sustained surface winds of 30 knots or greater.
Okay.
Which is turbulence.
So Tango, turbulence, 30 knots or greater.
Okay.
AIRMET Zulu, moderate icing and freezing levels.
You get your private pilot's license and you do a flight and you forget your logbook. Are you screwed?
No, you don't have to have your logbook. I have to have my logbook.
That's
yeah,
it. Okay.
Yeah, the student pilot does.
Right, okay. Now, some preventative maintenance.
Okay.
There's some things that you can do if you own your airplane. Can you tell me what they are?
I can't tell you what everything is, but I can go to the Appendix E of the section, it's got to be section 43, it's that first part of the section. And it's all listed there. I can change the oil, I can change the light bulb.
Move on.
I'm good.
Can you tell me the 4 left turning tendencies?
So 4 left turning tendencies are the P factor of the airplane as the propeller comes down. Okay. One side goes down faster than the other. The torque of the engine turning the propeller. The propeller wants to go the other way because it's turning the opposite. I believe the aerodynamic air coming over and moving over the back of the wing as it comes over the front of the wing. I feel like I'm forgetting one.
There's a little more to that. It doesn't just go over the wing to the back of the wing.
It goes around the fuselage.
Yeah, it goes. Yeah, it wraps around the fuselage.
So and then when it gets to the back,
the slipstream.
It pushes that rudder.
It pushes on the rudder.
So that's what forces the airplane to the left.
Okay, one more.
It's called slipstream effect.
What can you tell me about load factor?
Load factor on the airplane. There's a certain load factor you got to stay within. So you use your charts on the POH. An increased load factor means the airplane will stall at a higher speed.
Very good. Is load factor going to increase as you make a turn or decrease?
Increase.
Okay, good. That's private.
Yeah, in a 60-degree bank turn, load factor could double.
Okay. Here is the final question. Let's talk about CG.
Okay.
Your CG moves forward and aft, right?
Yep.
Depending on what kind of stability are you going to get, better or worse with an aft CG?
Worse stability.
Okay. What about performance? You're going to get better performance or worse?
You're going to go faster, but you're not going to be able to recover from a stall position because you're doing like this. You have too much weight back here, and your elevators don't have as much starting to get
Excellent. Oh yeah.
It's a good video.
What's a runway incursion?
A runway incursion is when you enter the runway without ATC's clearance or the tower's clearance.
Okay, good. So when we're flying on full tanks, how long do you think, say at a Cessna, how long do you think we could fly?
Well, if you know your power settings, then you should be able to find that in the POH.
Okay.
And you'll be able to say, well, at 2400, I'm going to use 7.4 gallons per hour. I've got 40 gallons of usable.
Okay.
So we're probably about 5 hours.
Perfect. You have lost your alternator, and you've decided to come back to Sanford and land, but your radios are gone. Say it's
my radios are gone.
Yeah, because your alternator went down, radios went static, they're out.
Sure.
And you're like, I just got to go back to Sanford. You could, of course, land. What you would normally do is land at Umatilla or somewhere uncontrolled.
Right.
But if there's some, you got to come back here for something. You got a sick passenger or whatever. So how do you let them know? Hey, I'm coming at you.
So there's a number of things that you got to do when you lose a radio and communicate with the tower that you lost your radio. Outside of flashing your lights, which you may have lost because you lost your alternator, right? You can waggle your wings. You got to hit 7600 on the transponder.
That's what I want to see.
Okay. You enter at 45 degree on the down. You go with the flow of traffic and look for light signals from the tower.
Okay. So what are you looking for?
Steady green.
Okay. So are there any other colors that might affect you?
Flashing green means I'm going to continue circling.
Okay.
Flashing white means the airport's unsafe, can't land, and steady white means return to starting point, which doesn't.
Okay. What is the maximum crosswind component of the Cessna?
15 knots.
Okay, good. You got any other stuff to input? I think you're going to do fine, especially now you got a month to go. We just
3 weeks. Yeah. No, I think I'm okay, and I think you guys gave me a lot of great stuff here. To look over, especially stuff that you look at and you think you know it until you got to actually spit it back out.
Well, that's why you put it into the scenario.
That's right.
You know, why would I ever do this? I have the hardest time understanding memorizing it until I put myself in a scenario. What the hell would I ever do this?
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate your help.